Yeah, right.
You never know.
I'd like to call tonight's Somersworth Planning Board meeting to order. Anna, please call the roll.
Chris Horton.
Here.
David Witham.
Here.
George Gilmet. Jason Berry.
Here.
Jeff Wittezinski. Jeremy Rhodes.
Here.
John Splain. Mark Richardson.
Here.
Ron LaHoulier.
Here.
William Barden.
This time I'd like to appoint Mr. Wittezinski as a full voting member for the evening. First item is approval of the minutes of February 18, 2026. Does anybody have a motion?
Move to approve as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Witham, seconded by Mr. Rhodes. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Abstain. Next item is committee reports. First item is the Land Use Board report summary. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Seeing none, move on to City Council report. Mr. Witham.
Yeah, very briefly, just entering a very busy time of year for council as we begin looking at the fiscal year 27 budget for city and school. We'll be undertaking that over the next month or two.
Thank you. Stratford Regional Planning Commission update. Mr. Richardson.
No report at this time.
Thank you. 2030 Committee. Mr. Berry.
No report, Mr. Chair.
Housing Committee. Director Mears.
No report this evening?
Thank you. That was quick. Old business. Any old business that may come before the board this evening, Director Mears?
None this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Next, we'll get into new business. I'd like to ask everybody to please turn off or mute your cell phones and electronic devices. And also, for the people at home, we're having some technical difficulties with the camera, so you may just have a wide shot for the evening. First item under new business, item 4A, 67 Elm Street, Somersworth LLC is seeking site plan and conditional use permit approval for a parking lot on property located at 67 Elm Street in the Business with Historic Overlay BH District, Form-Based Code, Area 4, Assessors Map 10, Lot 174, Site Number 01-2026. Director Mears, anything to add?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have all received our staff report. The applicant is proposing to construct a paved parking lot to provide 46 spaces, 20 compact spaces, and 26 regular to support the abutting residential projects at 22 Green Street. The zoning information, the property is located in a business with historic and form-based code Area 4 Special Parking Overlay District. Parking lot and structure is permitted use within the business district. Parking lot would be considered an other similar use requiring a conditional use permit to allow for this use in the form-based code area. There are some off-site improvements of sidewalks that will be associated with this project. And there are a number of waiver requests that I will go over. First is relief from the requirement to provide ADA spaces. Note that federal requirements are still applicable and may still require ADA spaces. Allow compact parking spaces, 20, which are 8 by 16 spaces. Allow for a two-way traffic island width of 20 to 22 feet. Relief from the requirement to provide shade planting trees, because those would be located within the right-of-way. Relief from the requirement to provide off-site screening, and relief from the requirement to provide screening of parking lots to the residents. Requirement to provide EV charging stations, because the EV charging stations will be at the other projects. And this application is ready for the board to review.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to accept the application. Mr. Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the site plan application for 67 Elm Street, Somersworth LLC, be accepted as complete for review.
Motion made by Mr. Horton, seconded by Mr. Berry. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion passes. Before we start the public hearing, I'd like to ask everybody who comes up this evening to please state your name and address. If you care to speak, come up to the podium. And also, if you don't want to state your name and address, use your affiliation. And at this time, I'd like to invite 67 Elm Street to make their presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Peroni from Verdantis LLC, representing the ownership of the property, 67 Elm Street LLC. If it works for the board, I'll just go through our whole plan set, have some notes for each sheet, then open the floor for questions after that. As you can see in the packet, first sheet was a completed Alta survey. We show that the lot is a 0.37 acre lot, again, within the historic district. Took a little bit to verify some of the meets and bounds of the property, but we were able to verify everything. This next sheet is our existing conditions and demolition sheet. As you can see on this note here, zoom in. The lot is currently being used as a construction and staging area for the 22 Green Street lot. We show the outline of the previous building, but it's been demolished. Couple items of note, there are utilities obviously located along Elm Street and Washington Street. One item we did show, a note on the side of the sheet that all water services are to be cut and capped at the main prior to any construction. As you can see from the topography of the site, there are some existing retaining walls that would be intended to be removed as part of the development and then replaced with new retaining walls. The topography generally flows, grades down to Elm Street and ultimately the lowest point down towards the corner of Elm and Washington Street. So this kind of played into how we want to lay out the site in terms of drainage infrastructure. You can see we have markings for test pit locations. Test pits kind of verify what we were initially intended. Towards the south of the lot, the test pits were kind of shallow to refusal with bedrock, whereas we went closer towards the corner of, or the intersection of Elm and Washington Street, we had a bit of a deeper reach of the test pits. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay. So this is our overall proposed plan. Again, it's for a parking lot, the overflow parking for 22 Green. The intent is to do 46 total spaces. Again, 26 would be standard spaces, while 20 would be compact. As Ms. Mears mentioned, part of the reasoning, or the main reason for that, is based on the boundary line and the need for the retaining wall. We had to shrink down some of these lots in order to fit these number of parking spaces. Again, we have submitted a waiver request for that. And as part of our meetings with the technical review committee here in the city, we were asked to show a detail of the sign saying compact space only, which is included later in the plan set. So we did include that there. Again, we are asking for a waiver on the EV charging spaces. Again, the intent is that they be provided at the 22 Green spot location, that this would just be overflow parking. And as well, the intent for ADA parking, we would have those be located at 22 Green, where this would, again, just be the overflow parking for the development. We are proposing to install sidewalks along Elm Street, as well as repair the sidewalk along Washington Street. Also putting in an access walkway and ramp into the parking lot for the pedestrians walking into the parking lot. Traffic flow, we do show a 24-foot aisle width within the driveway. But again, with the parking lot, we are asking for a waiver for reduction from 24 foot to 20 feet on the northern end of the parking lot and 22 on the southern. Again, this came up, essentially the boundaries of the lot are small enough where we couldn't make a 24-foot work without going into the right-of-way of the town. And it's just to make it cleaner, we're asking for the waiver in order to reduce the aisle. Later in the packet, I'll show you, we do have a traffic flow modeling to show that we can make it work and that there won't be any parking off of asphalt, as we include in a note here. For lighting, our intent is to utilize existing lighting from streetlights located at the corner of Elm Street and Washington Street here, as well as Elm Street and Church Street here. For granite curbing, we're proposing to install granite curbing along the sidewalk along Elm Street, and as well the repairs on Washington Street, as well as the driveway and the roundabouts here. Obviously those are going to be the high traffic areas, so just to protect them and make everything, kind of make sure it can stand up to the test of time. For snow storage, we're showing it along the northern end of the lot. Again, the plows would come in and push the snow this way. We are exceeding what is required by the city right now. The city requires about 1,200 square feet of plowing based on the calculations within the site plan regulations. We are showing an exceedance of that, 1,400 shown on the site plan here. So we are exceeding what's required. Additionally, on the site plan, we do show notes that snow storage will not impact traffic line of sight on any of the public roads and the driveways, so it will be maintained to ensure no line of sight is impacted. No snow from other lots will be deposited on this site. And furthermore, if there are excessive snow volumes, again, with to protect the line of sight, if need be, snow will be removed from the site and disposed of off-site. Then also, no snow will be stored on any of the right-of-way roads, walkways, anything like that to block the city's operations. Obviously, one of the main features here is the retaining wall for this site. It's based on the natural contours and, again, replacing retaining walls that are already there, so we had to build them up. On the site plans, and as kind of suggested by the city engineer, was to show details on the daylights for the perimeter drains for the retaining walls. On the north end here, we're showing the daylight would go into a small section of riprap, then into a grass swale, and then ultimately flow back into the internal closed drainage system. On the southeastern end, we show going through this riprap section here, ultimately flowing to Elm Street. I couldn't tell you actual percentage-wise, but I think looking at this, you can see the majority of the flow, if there was to be any flow come out of the perimeter drains, would generally come out of the north end, where this southeast corner really shouldn't get much. It's just, but we couldn't bring it back into the closed system based on grade. So we're ultimately trying to cover as much as we can back into the system to help protect everything. Finally, as I mentioned, the stormwater system is a closed system. The idea is that we have catch basins towards the center of the aisles with almost, as you would call, like a European crown in the road where everything would flow to the center. Everything would pitch down towards the northern end of the lot. You'll see a little bit more detail on the contours and stormwater, the subsurface stormwater system, but ultimately, our infiltration system is here at the northern portion of the parking lot with an overflow out to the public system at the corner of Elm Street and Washington. This is a standard layout of the retaining wall. Right now, we are calling for a Pepin block retaining wall, but it could, depending on pricing and availability, there could be, other similar retaining wall products that could be used. But this is essentially what it would look like from in terms of display. This was approved by the Historic Commission, I believe. Again, with the details, we're showing the drainage stone behind the wall and then a perimeter drain to pull it out so that way we protect the wall and make sure there's no, to prevent any sort of bulging or damaging from water buildup behind it. Our grading and drainage design, again, as I mentioned, the intent is to pitch everything back towards the center. We show kind of spot grades throughout the site, and we also show contours throughout the site to show that, again, everything is going to flow to the center. We even included a kind of non-standard contour 29.5, just to kind of highlight the point that, even in this area, everything's going to pitch back into this system. The intent is to not use curbing through most of it, just with the contours naturally flow it back in. There it is. Here's a closer look at the stormwater system itself. Again, connecting from the catch basins, going into our ADS system to infiltrate with an ultimate overflow into the municipal drainage system on Elm Street. Again, we do show the daylights for the retaining wall still showing within the closed system here on the northern end of the retaining wall, again, to try to capture as much as we can as possible. Again, as part of our drainage report, we do show that we modeled the site for the 2, 10, 50, and 100-year storms, as well as recharge, showing that we meet the recharge volume requirements and TSS reduction, so that our design does comply with the site plan regulations. This sheet we added in after, I think, our first TRG meeting. This is just a sheet that goes with the stormwater management plan. This is just to show overall inspection items that are to be inspected and their frequency for inspections. We have the list, called out up here, and we identify the items on the plan sheet that is also included in the stormwater management plan. But just to show like that was addressed. Next few sheets are just typical details, erosion control, general construction. Again, you can see we're asked to show details for compact cars, which we added here. We also were asked to include tow-away signs. It's a private lot to ensure like there will be signs up saying this is private. We haven't identified a towing contractor yet. I think once construction is completed, then we'll actually list them on there. This sheet is just a typical standard detail from ADS, but again, just to show stormwater will be collected, conveyed, and then captured and allowed to infiltrate within the system here at the north end of the parking lot with an ultimate overflow, just as a safety valve for the stormwater system to then connect to the municipal system on the street. Our landscape plan, the intent is to use a mix of inkleberry, holly shrubs, and switchgrass, which my understanding is they're all native plants. We show that the landscape plan will not be impacted by any of our snow storage, that we show it outside of the impact, and that would be part of the maintenance of the site to ensure that the plants are still survive. We are asking for a waiver from as Ms. Mears mentioned, a couple items. One is the shade tree. As she mentioned, they'd be in the right of way. And additionally, our concerns were, as you can see along Washington Street and Elm Street, there are overhead wires. And so the development of any shade trees under the wires would be pretty difficult. So, we thought that was a reasonable request that we don't think we could actually really do it. The next items were obviously the off-street and residential screenings. We looked into it, and ultimately, I think our intent is to do as best we can to screen, and obviously the plants as they mature should, in theory, grow bigger to help meet our requirements. But one of our main concern was security in the lot. We didn't want to completely just close this off. We want to make sure that it was relatively open so that there wasn't any sort of lack of better words, riffraff going on. That's ultimately the reason why we're asking for the waiver. Next two sheets just show typical modeling for stormwater pathways. This is from the existing conditions, the time of concentration from the furthest point of the lot into the existing Elm Street system versus the proposed development. Just the point, again, from this modeling, we're showing that we are generally capturing everything on the site. The only difference would just be the driveway here. Again, it'd be bucking grade, so it'd be difficult to collect it, but we are, with our modeling, we're showing that we're complying with the site plan regulations for development of the site. And then these last 3 sheets, these are just to show the traffic flows and traffic patterns to fit within the, particularly the 20-foot aisle width on the northern end of the lot. We did have to adjust the site plan originally. I think we initially intended this to be impervious here, but because of the turning radius of the vehicles, we decided to pave it over, then hatch it out, so it's not an actual parking space, it was just to safely make the turn into the spot, as well as kind of the back corners here for the 22-foot aisle width. Let me show. Was it not switching? Again, just more. You can see this area here. We changed this a little bit to show paved over but hatched over, so that way no tires are going off the property line or going off the pavement and still parking within a parking space. So again, no parking will be conducted off of asphalt would be the intent. Last one, same thing. So with that, that is all of our sheets, so I'll open the floor.
Okay, thank you. We'd open a public hearing. Anyone care to comment on this application? Director Mears, is there any correspondence?
None this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing none, close the public hearing. Questions from the board? Mr. Richardson?
First, thank you for your explanation for not having this screening. Nobody really likes looking at parking lots, but I thought of the very reason why you said you didn't want them.
Yep,
to
yep.
Make it a safer place, and, you know, if there's enough lighting in there and that kind of thing, just from the ambient light, from the lights that are already there, because I noticed you weren't putting up any other additional
Correct.
lighting. But I would think that that would be enough that, you know, people wouldn't be engaged in activities that they shouldn't be engaged in and be screened by the plantings that are there. So I appreciate that. I heard your answer to my question about not having ADA parking when you made your opening statement, but I guess my concern is also for perhaps not just overflow parking for residents, but visitors that may be using that lot, and that if there were no ADA parking. And I realize the federal law might kick in here and all that kind of thing, and which makes me reluctant to vote no for that, because I don't feel like we should be voting no when there's a federal law. But I am thinking of visitors and where they might be parking.
So right now, we aren't allowing visitors to park at the properties.
Which begs the question of how do you police that?
We have, so every tenant right now has tags, and they're assigned tags, and we are contracting with a towing company. So they'll drive around, make sure everyone has their tags. We also have, in our property management software, we can pull up, if someone forgets their tag up, the tow company calls us, we search that license plate, and it's in our software if they are an actual tenant.
Is there signing for that this is for visitor, or for residents only?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, I think that was on,
Yeah, okay.
yep.
Well, those were my two big things that I was wondering about. The other one was EV. Now that I think about it, I was wondering why no EV parking?
So, with all of our apartments, 650 units, I think we have one EV car. And this was in Newmarket, and there's a town charging station that they ended up using. We don't have stations there. If EV does pick up, it's decreasing right now, but if it does pick up and go wild, tenants are gonna need it, and we're gonna have to install it.
Okay, I
yeah.
appreciate your concern and
Yep.
your awareness of it.
Yep.
That's why I'm asking,
Yep.
so it's out there and the public has it. So
Yep.
thank you very much.
Yep.
Mr. Witham?
Thank you. I want to focus for a moment on Elm Street itself, where the traffic volume for this project will be traversing, I'd suggest from either direction, depending upon the needs of the residents that are going to be using this lot. The project at 67 Elm Street, now identified as 22 Green Street, and the pending project has done a fair amount of incursion into the roadway for drainage, water, any number of other things. So as a result, Elm Street is now rather deteriorated as a result of all of that work. Shame on us as a planning board to have not flagged that during the initial stages of development for an off-site improvement, but it's readily apparent now. For me to vote yes on this project, Elm Street is going to need to be repaved from end to end, and I hope that doesn't come as a surprise to you, and I'm just kind of wondering what your thoughts are on that.
One thing I would like to mention with that is when all of the construction was happening on Elm Street, we did come to the city and said, hey, for X amount more, we can just pave this whole thing. Unfortunately, it wasn't allowed to turn around. There was a lot of conversations about how poor, so we had to put the patch in right away. We did push because it wasn't much more just to pave the whole thing, and at that time, we weren't allowed to. So we filled the patch, and we did what was on the site plan for 22 Green, because that's what we were asked to do. So there is some, I 100% agree, but the time was then, in my opinion, to pave this whole street, because it is a rip and reclaim. Our guys were having a hard time to find, they kept having to go wider and wider with the
Sure,
patch.
and at some point, we don't need to do it now publicly, but I'd like to know who the city is, right? So that's a pretty broad brush, right? And I'd like to know who that is. But obviously, with this project, we're going to have further impacts to Elm Street. The placement of the granite curb is going to require a cut and patch along that edge. And then we're also talking about an outflow pipe for those big events for the drainage that's going to have to go out there. So what is already a bad situation is going to be made worse. And what I'm looking for here is a shim and overlay at the very least, or some sort
it's
of,
possible.
it
When
need to
we
be
talked with
reclaimed.
SUR, it needs to be, it's at the point that it's reclaimed.
Fair enough. So that might be a stumbling block for a yes vote from me on this project. The other thing I'd like to talk about is I appreciate the sidewalk, because obviously people are going to leave their cars, they're going to have to walk to the properties and other venues. As you turn the corner on Washington Street, I see a handicap tip down there, and you're coming up Washington Street, I don't know, maybe by a matter of 15 feet or so. That section of sidewalk on Washington Street that is adjacent to your property, that runs parallel to your property, is the worst section of sidewalk on all of Washington Street. I'm just kind of curious how that's going to tie in. It seems to make sense that we'd carry that to the next driveway up, which is the edge of your property line. I drove by there today. There's like a set of granite steps to nowhere, but they're there. And the section that you're proposing to fix, I don't think currently has granite curb. It's just like a pavement curb, been damaged in the past. But can you just talk about how that's going to tie into what's already not a very good sidewalk?
I mean, I think the intent was just to match the grades and make sure it's a smooth transition on the sidewalk, or as smooth as you can be from a rough section.
I'd need a whole lot more detail on that, because I don't think that that's possible. I think you need to chase it to the next driveway up, but I'm certainly willing, if other planning board members are willing, to table this tonight in lieu of a site walk so that we can look at.
We're
both-
happy to bring that sidewalk all the way up to the next
Okay,
driveway.
so well, that's some meaningful progress.
Condition.
The last thing just to chat about briefly here is the retaining wall. I did watch the HDC and that whole piece, and I thought I recalled some conversation about the need for protection for someone falling off the top of it. Is there going to be like a chain link fence up there, or does the retaining wall come north of the grade? How are we addressing that concern?
So there, where we can put a chain link fence is we do have a work easement, but this retaining wall is going up pretty much right to the boundary.
Right.
Yeah. So one thing we can definitely look at, you know, I'm not sure if the fence would require another HDC approval, but we can tap into the into these pep-in blocks and put a chain link fence along the top.
I just think it's a fall risk there.
Yeah.
And you know, whether or not it's a chain link fence, I think that's probably the simplest thing, or a railing of some sort. But I think either would work. I would just be looking for that in here as well. So I'll stop there. I'll let other board members chime in.
Mr. Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, a bunch of comments, no questions, so you can take a breather and relax for a second. First things first, excellent presentation. Probably the best presentation I've ever seen for a parking lot. Really wonderful job.
Thank you.
Yeah, first thing I have here is just wonderful attention to detail. I mean, for the site, this is a tough site to work on. You know, it's narrow, not a lot you can do with it. You made the best of what you could. I got to tip my flag of hat to you for that. So on my way in to sort of walk on the pigtails of or the coattails of Councilor Witham, I did drive down Church Street today, and I noticed the same exact thing. I took a left on Elm, and I said, boy, this street is rough. I can tell you guys have beaten it up pretty good. So I definitely want to echo his statements that it would be nice to see something happen there. I'm sure in time that will be great. If I'm experiencing it, guarantee the residents are going to experience it too. As far as the drainage system, I like what you did. You know, I looked at the test pits. I looked at the product you're using. It's good product. I've designed with ADS before. It's good. It's good. Good technology. It's going to be a great fit for the site. I would have put it exactly in the same place, or in a very close place to that. So, good job with that. I like your wall design. The wall design was well thought out. Happy to see. I think that's going to be an improvement on what's there. As far as the parking, I can tell you guys definitely struggled with it. I mean, in your drawings, you tried to show it as a 1-point turn. Let's be realistic. Most people are going to do it in 3. Okay. I can tell you from experience, anytime I designed a 20-foot wide parking lot, people struggled. Okay. So you got to let your tenants know that that's going to be a thing. Okay, especially with the compact parking spaces. They should know up front that it's going to be park there at your own discretion sort of deal. I'm not so bent out of shape about the ADA. I completely understand, you know, where he's coming from. However, I see 22 has its own ADA spots right next to the building. So this is away from the spot. This is more of a additional parking area. So I'm not bent out of shape about ADA. And I'm not really bent out of shape about any of the other waivers that you're requesting. I don't mind the smaller size spaces. Once again, it's a at your own discretion. You're improving the parking. I mean, let's be frank. I mean, I've heard people complain about parking. You know, there's no parking. All right, you're putting it right next door. So if you don't like it, don't park there. Very simple. So beyond that, good job on the design. I'm excited to hear what everyone else has to say. Thank you.
Mr. Rhodes?
So echoing some of the comments around ADA spaces, the fact that this is overflow parking for existing buildings, those ADA spaces that are in those buildings are essentially doubly locked. You need to be a resident and have a permit to use them. So I'm not concerned about the lack of them here either. It's a tight parking lot. I've parked in worse. The one concern I did want to raise about it being tight, you'd mentioned presenting to SRTC. Did they have any concerns about emergency vehicle access to the lot?
Nothing immediate. I mean, we show a 24-foot width getting in, and they're able to make the turns and back in and out. They're not pulling into the individual parking spaces. So we essentially show enough of a hammerhead. So they didn't have, if I recall correctly, I don't remember any specific concern on that end.
Okay. Sounds good. Yep. Back in my EMS days, I pulled ambulances into worse. It wasn't fun getting them out, but we did it. The other piece I wanted to raise was around HDC and the wall materials. There was a mention of the materials potentially changing due to either cost or market availability. I'm assuming that a material change would trigger a return to HDC to get that reapproved if there was a shift.
Yeah, we're pretty stuck on the Pepin. I don't think there's even another, there's very few products that can go to this height.
Okay.
So it's going to be.
It'll be Pepin. Okay. Or if it does shift, we would go back to them.
Yeah.
Beyond that, as much as I'm okay with stupid hurting, I think the rail here is a very good idea. If you could mount that in, somebody tipping over there could be a real problem. But beyond that, very glad to see the thought that went into a parking lot presentation. I had the same thought running through my head as that was being looked at, and good to see that you're addressing this well. Thank you.
Mr. Horton?
Yeah, I echo a lot of the comments here tonight. Great presentation. I think it's a great redevelopment of the site and much need for additional overflow parking. Did a great job explaining your waivers, and I think a lot of the waiver kind of govern a site that was including a structure. So I think my biggest thing here is the amount of off-site improvements you're doing with sidewalks. And I'm certainly in favor of the project, but also echo the concerns raised for Elm Street. But, I certainly support the project moving forward.
Mr. Gilmet?
I'm also in favor of everything here on the project, with the exception of Elm Street with the cost of roads and stuff. And a little help to do that would definitely be a plus for the city. And that road is in terrible shape. There's no doubt about that. But everything else is, great presentation, et cetera. I'll echo the rest of the, same things.
Thank you.
Mr. Wojcinski?
Again, echo also, thank you for the presentation. I do have some other kind of questions, and I'm not a parking lot expert. How far?
I've never been either.
How far off that retaining wall, how far back are you going to have to dig to get to? Are you going to get into neighbors' properties?
We would have to get into the neighbor's property, one, for the excavation and
Yeah.
setting geotextile fabric to help stabilize the earth. I think that's part of.
Yeah, there's an easement onto that parking, onto that lot right now. That was with the hotel that we're allowed to do work onto.
Are you going to be able to stay within that easement?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very old easement, so it's pretty big blanket.
So my other questions are on the actual functioning of the compact parking, car parking spots, because you need compact cars to be in those spots to be able to maintain the 20-foot rate distance of your.
The 20, I guess,
That's the width.
the 20-foot aisle width you're talking about?
Yeah, but a compact car is also it's the length of the car
Correct.
that you need, and if someone isn't using, if someone doesn't put a compact car in that spot, are they going to get towed? Because you've reduced the width of the aisle.
So
I'm saying, how does that get
talking about
policed?
backing up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm
So
talking about if somebody,
I think those turn
I
radius.
don't know if I have a compact car. I'm not sure what the definition is.
Yeah, so if, he'll pull it up right now, but the pull in and out is a standard car. So the width, the compact is really the width. Somersworth requires a 9 feet, and if you go to most shopping centers, it's
Yep.
closer to 8
But I'm
feet.
looking at the lines, and they're showing 16 versus 18 feet.
Yeah, so this is a standard car right here. You can see.
Yeah,
So that's a compact spot
right.
there,
But plenty of cars are longer than 16 feet.
The vehicles that we show on the model, it was actually a 19-foot vehicle.
Okay? All right, so those are 19-foot vehicles in the standard spaces.
That very bottom right is actually a compact space. We're showing
Okay.
it there. I think the intent of this model is to show that it can work.
And if you have a vehicle, I guess the couple of questions I have is, you have a sign that says compact car parking only.
Yep.
If someone doesn't have a compact car, and they put it in there.
Yeah, so,
Do you police that?
yeah, we will. So, I mean, let me just look it up, but I think like a minivan is less than 19 feet. You know, this is like an F-250 that we're talking about, like a long bed truck. Pull up.
An average car, I think, is about 16 to 18, like a Toyota Camry. I'm not trying to,
No, I understand. I'm just looking at
because your width of your aisleway is depending on the right car being in there.
Yeah, so with us, we will, our tow company will police it. If a tenant
Okay.
calls and says, hey, there's a big car, I can't park.
So that sign needs to also say, this includes compact parking in the wrong.
Yep.
I hate to see road rage in a parking lot.
Yep.
And that's what I'm looking at. I'm not trying to
No, definitely.
shake
Completely
things
understand.
up, trying to make things
Yeah, we'll add more verbiage
good
to
for the
that,
people that have to use it. And also, what about neighbors? Is there going to be clearly signs, or is there a gate of some sort to keep neighbors from parking in this spot?
So we'll have this sign right here posted around the property.
What's that?
The top right, tow away, tow and enforced, and then it'll say. by permit.
Unauthorized, says unauthorized. Typically, I have seen signs that say permit only.
Yeah, we can add the verbiage of permit only. Yep.
I don't know what authorized means. I think you want to be clear to your neighbors that, no, we love you, but you can't park here.
Yeah.
All right?
People still will.
Yeah, and people still will.
Yeah.
And with a 20-foot rather than 24-foot, your towing company will be having fun
Yes.
pulling cars out of there.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's all I had for questions. But thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Do you have your mic on?
Like, I would say that I support the idea of having some sort of a permit only. I think it's more clear than tow, like the label sort. Because I think that it's going to work as a private parking, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just public. Yeah, I think that will resolve that issue with neighbors or anyone that want to come and park the car. Maybe temporary, visit a friend or someone at the building, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Witham?
Not so much a question, I just kind of wrap my hand around a few of the pieces that we sort of talked about here. A railing or a fence, we can add that as a condition of approval, and I suppose that would warrant also just a notation on the plan set that would be done. So I'm seeing nods of heads. It seems like the applicant is amenable to that. We talked about the section of sidewalk.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
for the fence, it's the tall portion. We don't need it on the right side. It's
Correct,
the
where,
low.
where there's
Yeah.
a height and
Height,
fall
yep,
risk,
definitely.
if you will. So, we talked about the sidewalk on Washington Street that would run the length of your property.
Yep.
So I think it's about 50 or 60 feet. Tried to use the scale in the plan set. So, there is granite curb on a portion of it, some of it isn't. I'm fine with you to work with city staff if it's easier to use new stuff or reuse what's there, but just to make that a cohesive, and I'm seeing a nod of the head, so we'd need to add that as a condition of approval, and again, another note on the plan set with regard to that. I think we'd all love to see Elm Street paved, the applicant, us, but it perhaps is a little arduous to require you to do it because there are other users of Elm Street, obviously. When we approved your smaller building that's yet to be built, though, we talked about an exaction towards Fayette Street. Would the applicant be amenable to a modest exaction towards repaving Elm Street? I'm thinking in the order of $15,000.
For just this.
Yeah, I think for the building, when we talked Fayette, I think the exaction was 40,000, or it was based upon number of bedrooms. I don't have a way to do the math for a parking lot.
Yeah, it's a very expensive parking lot.
For 22 Green Street, I think it was 77,000
Yeah, that went
for
towards
Church Street. The applicant ended up,
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
Yeah.
the next building that's yet to be built, where
Yeah,
the
but that
creamery was. There was an exaction for,
We did it by the same amount, so it was 70, was it 80? What was 22 Green was? 75.
for, okay. I don't know. We don't have it though.
It was 30,000 for.
30. All right, I knew it was, all right.
Right about that.
That's why I was going with like 15, 10.
I didn't remember it.
Uh,
Sorry, I didn't remember it off the top of my head.
I think some level of contribution is necessary. I'll let the applicant tell me what you think that should be.
So I think if we could work with the city when we're doing this pipe out, and maybe we'll pay for the pave-in for the damage that this lot creates up to that portion, and then the city does the rest at that time. So all of Elm looks nice. I just don't want to pay in and then it doesn't happen for 10 years. I'd rather.
I'm open to a collaborative effort. Obviously, that requires somebody more than just me. I'll probably have a vote on that, but 1/9, right? So I'll look to Director Mears. Is there a way that we can wordsmith this that I just,
Okay. Well, staff is going to go downstairs and go look at 28 Green. My computer's not working. So, so we can wordsmith this.
I think 28 Green, we just did an exaction, right? Because there was discussion about one way, and that needs to go through a lot of processes to get there. I think the city does desire to have this look like a cohesive unit. I think an exaction is just the simplest way tonight, because
So
now if
would
we're,
you do we can do 5,000 contribution, and we come up with a timeline that the city will pave it by.
yeah, I think contributions have a timeline
Okay.
attached to them anyways.
6 years?
6 years.
We have 6
City
years.
will pave in 6 years, hopefully.
Otherwise, that money goes back to, that's true of Fayette as well. So,
Any other comments? All set?
it's kind of where I'm at right now, so 5 is better than none. I'll go there.
Any other comments, Mr. Horton?
I appreciate your support, and help revitalize the city, especially the downtown. So I think it's a great conversation, and I too agree that, we should make the priority to repave Elm Street and Associated at the completion of, the construction. So, he's putting his good foot forward. I think the city should do the same. So,
Mr. Richardson?
I just want to say that throughout this whole process, you guys have been wonderful to work with. You've had ideas of your own that you've contributed to this project to make it a better project than originally planned, and I think you've worked with the city all the way through this, and it's coming along great. I know you got those things out there to get them rented now, and every day I come out of my driveway and either go towards Main Street or go towards Green Street, and you can look down and you see it there. It looks a whole lot better than I anticipated that it was going to look. So I just, we're at this point in the project, and you're finally got the ball kicked off and putting things, getting people in there, and when it's completed, it's going to be wonderful.
Thank you.
So,
Any other comments?
I agree as well, despite my grumblings
hey.
tonight.
You're doing your best for the city, and I respect that.
Entertain a motion on regional impact. Thank you very much. Mr. Richardson?
I move that there is no regional impact.
Motion made by Mr. Richardson, seconded by Mr. Rhodes. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise the right hand. Opposed? Next, we'll dive into the waiver request. Entertain a motion for waiver number 1. Mr. Rhodes.
Request for parking requirement for parking spaces.
Motion made by Mr. Rhodes, seconded by Mr. Horton. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed?
For the reasons I gave, I'm going to say
So noted.
Might I just add, we should have perhaps had a bit of a discussion around a waiver. I think it was articulated during some of our questions, but I think Mr. Rhodes said it adequately that there are ADA compliant spaces at the property, and this is considered overflow, so we kind of check the box there.
Looking for a motion for waiver number 2. Mr. Horton.
I move that the request of 67 Elm Street for a waiver from section 13.4 BI1 to allow a reduction in parking stall size be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Horton, seconded by Mr. Gomet. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Waiver is granted. Entertain a motion for waiver number 3. Mr. Horton.
Motion number 3, I move that the request of 67 Elm Street for the waiver from section 13.4 BI3 to allow the reduction in the aisle width to be 20 to 22 feet be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Horton, seconded by Mr. Gomet. Discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Waiver is granted. Motion for waiver number 4. Mr. Horton.
Yes, sir. I move that the request of 67 Elm Street for the waiver from section 13.4 B8 5 requirement to provide parking lot shade trees be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Horton, seconded by Mr. Gomet. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion for waiver number 5.
I'll keep it going. The request of 67 Elm Street for the waiver from section 13.4 B86 to allow the reduction in parking lot screening to provide 3.5-foot height screening and a 30% vertical opacity. Oh boy, I messed that one up. To be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Horton, seconded by Mr. Rhodes. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Waiver is granted. Looking for a motion for waiver number 6.
The request of 67 Elm Street for the waiver from section 13.4 B87 to allow a reduction in parking lot screening from residents to provide 6-foot high screened and 50% vertical to be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Horton, seconded by Mr. Rhodes. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Waiver is granted. And entertain a motion for waiver number 7.
The last one, the request for 67 Elm Street for a waiver from section 13.4 D8 of the site plan review regulations requirement to provide on-site EV charging stations be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Horton, seconded by Mr. Gilmet. Discussion.
I don't think we had this many waivers to build the building with 140 units, so it's kind of fascinating how this works.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Waiver is granted. Entertain a motion for a conditional use permit. Mr. Rhodes, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Would be helpful, yeah. Thank you. Move the request of 67 Elm Street, Somersworth LLC for conditional use permit to allow a parking lot as the primary use within the form-based code areas be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Rhodes, seconded by Mr. Gomet. Any discussion? Mr. Witham.
Yeah, it's funny that I did have a couple of residents connect with me about this project and just wondering if a parking lot was the best use of this parcel. And I think my answer to them was, at the current moment, yes. It doesn't mean it's going to be a parking lot forever. things change. But at the current time, I think it makes sense, so.
It's the
Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Conditional use permit is granted. Site plan request, I'll ask Director Mears to summarize conditions of approval.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For plan revisions, A, C21, Note 6, revised timely manner to within 1 year from date that the violation is noticed for dead and dying vegetation. Show wall, drainage outlet, locations on the drainage plan. Applicant shall address any outstanding comments from Horsley Witten third-party review to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Community Development. Please list all waivers granted on the plan and conditional use permit. Relocation of 3 switchgrass plantings shown in the riprap. Please relocate stop sign to be within the property boundaries. Applicants shall address the landscaping, how the landscaping will be watered, and if there will be any irrigation installed or any other methods. Add the following notes to the plan. Pursuant to Chapter 12, Streets and Sidewalks, no person shall deposit or cause to be deposited, including but not limited to deposits from roof or foundation drains, pumps, any liquid from private property in or upon any public road, sidewalk, or city property in such a manner so as to cause conditions hazardous to pedestrian movements and to the normal and reasonable flow of vehicle traffic. The drainage report, operation maintenance report, and sheet C25 should be updated to include and address proposed riprap added to the plan. All sidewalks shall be ADA compliant for the project. These 2 conditions have been added as plan revisions. Sidewalk shall be extended the entire length of Washington Street frontage of the property, and railing or fence shall be installed on top of the retaining wall to address the fall risk. Conditions that must be met prior to final approval. The plans shall bear the stamp and signature of an engineer, licensed land surveyor, and landscape architect. Federal state permits shall be in place before the plan signing and recording. Applicant shall provide a draft landscape maintenance agreement for all landscaping and drainage features proposed to be planted and installed within the right-of-way. That shall cover the planting, watering, maintenance, and replacement, or any other aspect of maintaining the landscaping and drainage features in good condition shall be the responsibility of the property owner, so as long the site plan is in effect. It shall be submitted for legal review prior to final approval. The landscape maintenance agreement shall be executed with the city prior to the project completion. Prior to the start of legal review, an escrow shall be established for the review in the amount determined by the Director of Planning and Community Development. Conditions to be completed prior to the start of site work. Construction cost estimates for this project shall be submitted. A pre-construction meeting is required. An escrow account in the amount set by the city's contract engineer and agreeable to the Department of Development Service will be established for site construction. Inspections prior to any site work. Performance surety in the amount agreeable to the Department of Development Services, but no less than 25% of the cost of site construction shall be established. Applicant shall supply documentation to confirm the sewer service from the old hotel that was demolished was properly capped, and provide documentation to confirm the water service from the old building to the water main was removed and properly abandoned as well. If there is no documentation available to confirm the capping of the sewer service, applicant will need to expose and confirm completing capping of sewer and connection before the end of the project. All water service must be abandoned at the water main before the end of the project. Erosion controls shall be properly installed prior to the start of any construction. There should be a landscaping survival security in the amount of 10% of the total cost of landscaping, or a minimum of $500. All applicants requiring stormwater management and erosion control plan shall submit pollutant accounting information to the Director of Planning and Community Development as required by the Public Works Director. Relevant pollutant tracking information shall be submitted prior to holding the pre-construction meeting. Post-construction pollutant information must be entered at the time as-built are submitted. Prior to final sign-off and completion of the project, the owner of record shall record at the Registry of Deeds documentation sufficient to provide notice to all persons that may acquire any property subject to requirements and responsibilities described and approved by the Stormwater Management Plan. This notice shall comply with the applicable requirements for recording contained in RSA 477 and 478. The notice need set forth the requirements at length so long as sufficient to provide notice to prospective purchasers to the requirements for maintenance and reporting. The Department of Development Services can provide a form to be completed by the owner of record to meet this requirement. A copy of the completed stormwater inspection and maintenance log shall be provided on or before July 1st, and this is an ongoing condition of approval. All landscaping shown on the plan shall be maintained, and any dead or dying vegetation shall be replaced in a timely manner. Any future lighting added to the site must be downlit and shielded. Applicant shall provide a $5,000 exaction for repaving and reconstruction of Elm Street, submitted prior to the certificate of occupancy, and work with city staff, including the Public Works Director and Director of Planning and Community Development. As-built are also required as part of this project.
Thank you. Comments from the board on the conditions? Mr. Rhodes?
Just one additional item to raise off of a comment of Mr. Wazinski's, looking to have a requirement for signage to indicate resident parking only or similar.
Any other comments? Mr. Witham?
Yeah, I just want to thank the applicant. I think the show of good faith was the taking on that sidewalk on Washington Street, so I appreciate that. And the exaction, I think without the sidewalk, we could have had a stronger conversation, but I think I think it's a good cooperative effort here, and we'll get to where we need to be ultimately, so thank you.
Any other comment? This time I'll entertain a site plan motion. Mr. Horton?
I move that the site plan application of 67 Elm Street for parking lot on property located at 67 Elm Street, Assessors Map 10, Lot 174, be approved with the conditions highlighted in the Director's memo.
Motion made by Mr. Horton, seconded by Mr. Gilmet. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion passes. Site plan is granted.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call a 5-minute recess. Director Mears, anything to add?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is proposing to demo the existing building and construct a new mixed-use redevelopment. The project is proposed to have 171 apartments, studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units, and 4,200 square feet of commercial space with on-site amenities, parking, and a plaza. The applicant was before the Planning Board back in November of 2025 to receive additional feedback from conceptual review. The site plan has been revised and traffic study has been provided to the board. The building height proposed is to be in excess of 35 feet. The applicant is seeking feedback on the overall development proposal. The applicant has provided conceptual plans for discussion. This property is located in a residential commercial district. It's 7.3 acres with 671 feet of frontage along High Street. Historically has been used as a place of worship and related religious facilities. Multi-unit dwelling will require a special exception, and a variance will be required if the applicant is seeking more units than allowed by Table 5A1. We did provide the requirements for lot size for this number of units, which would be 726,450 square feet. So that's just something that the zoning board will have to address. This is a design review phase. The board or its designees may engage in non-binding discussions with the applicant beyond conceptual and general discussion, which involve more specific design and engineering details. However, that the design review process may proceed only after identification and notice to the abutters. and holders of conservation, preservation, or agricultural preservation restrictions. We have notified the abutters as required. The board may establish a reasonable rules of procedure relating to the design review process, including submission requirements. At a public meeting, the board may determine that the design review process of an application has ended and shall inform the applicant in writing 10 days of such determination. The board should make a determination that the design review process in an application has ended.
Thank you, Director Mears. At this time, I'd like to invite Argos Development Company to make their presentation.
Hi, my name is Carl Dubé with the Dubé Group. We're out of Londonderry, New Hampshire, near the Manchester Airport. We're civil engineers and landscape architects, surveyors, land planners. And with me also is Jake, one of our clients, and also I believe there might be representatives here from the church who owns the property. And with us also is Mark, the architect, and Michael, the traffic engineer. So I'm just going to move on from where we left off with the board the last time. So we got a lot of good comments and suggestions on the plans. So we've updated the plans to reflect all of those. We met with city staff. We actually just recently been offering to have abutter meetings as well, and we did get a chance to meet with one abutter, a commercial property to the left of the screen there. So we actually just did some update sketches for her to accommodate her future plans if she wanted to move forward with that for connections and landscaping and buffering, a little bit of everything on that corner there. So what has changed since the last time you saw this plan? We've increased the amount of landscaping tremendously. We've bolstered the buffers to the rear of the property. So if you look at the screen, all the green in the back, so we are holding a Class A buffer yards of at least 100 feet to the rear of the property there, and we're maintaining most of the woodlands and trees and vegetation that are out there. And we're also we're infusing even more plantings in there for transitional plants. There's some section of lawn that's back there that we're actually going to remove and actually put in naturalized plantings and get that to grow in as well. So we really want to take that buffer and really, really make it, thick, all-season buffer. Right now, it's not quite all season, but, we want to respect that buffer. And when we started this project, it was going to be a commercial project, and we talked about that, and retail and all that stuff. We had a whole shopping center in here with, driveways around the back and loading zones and all that type of thing. And it would have been a lot of extra stuff, a lot of extra heat, a lot of extra pavement, bigger buildings, maybe not so high, but actually just big commercial buildings that may not even require a Class A buffer yard when you do the calculations. But we're doing a Class A 100-foot. And the other thing we've done on the building is you can see that, we're not putting this long building along the back. We actually have a lot of undulations and what we call a quiet courtyard in the back. We had some concepts before that you saw. It had a lot more activity back there, more walkways, more hardscape, more stuff. And we pulled a lot of that out even in the back. So we really, really want to make sure that all that is taken care of. There are some encroachments back there from some of the residential uses, and we want to actually commit to this board that we will work with the abutters on those encroachments that occurred on our the subject property, and we want to try to maybe give them some easements or to honor those and take care of things back there. There's a sewer line that goes back there that the city has, and with easements as well. We're also moving fence lines, so we're doing a full stockade fence, obviously. We're moving that up closer to our area so that our rear abutters can further enjoy what they already have on the subject property in terms of just the visual. So we don't want to be putting up stockade fences right up against the property line or anywhere near it. We want to put that stockade fence up towards our development and then give the visuals, more landscaping and, different textures and colors of evergreens and everything. That was the big driving feature of this whole development would be the redevelopment to honor those buffer yards and make them as best as we can make them and, exceed the minimum requirements. So we've done that. I'm going to probably just rattle off some things in no particular order, but we have High Street at the bottom of the sheet. We've expanded our survey through there. You'll hear from our traffic engineer who's done a report and, meets all the criteria the state would require us for this. And we also did an alternative analysis. If we were going to do a by right retail development, how much traffic would that have produced? And it would have produced a lot more. Very nice mixed-use development. We also reread all of the master plans. I don't have them all memorized, but we respect the master plan that you guys put together. We're respecting highly all the updates that you're doing to the master plan and how you're integrating those as they go into regulations and ordinances and everything. The design of this site has, basically set forth off that master plan. So we have tons of sidewalks. We have sidewalk development and rebuilding all the sidewalks on our frontage on High Street all the way through. We have 2 curb cuts, one on each side, which is very proper. We have a left turn lane, center lane in there that's existing already. But all this walkway, there's a bus stop in the front of our property that's there already, the transit system. And we're inviting the transit system folks to bring their bus into a loop into our development. And then out again. It works very, very well. We have curb appeal for that. We have drop-off pickup. We have temporary parking. We have some commercial spaces on the first floor. Very similar to some of the state laws that have recently been enacted and wanting to redevelop sites and actually integrate true mixed use. So we have a bistro type of restaurant there, outdoor patios, tables, chairs, landscaping, pedestrian scale of that in the courtyard in the front. So that would be more of an active courtyard. We also, as we move forward, we want to work with the city on art and all of that. The planning office said, make sure you integrate that. And we can actually integrate art and public art space into that central courtyard as well as into the building where we have, a lobby and all that type of thing. So it's really set up for celebrating culture, art, people. We have our architect here will talk about the unit mix and, we have a very high percentage units that are studios. And, one of my employees is actually a junior landscape architect. He lives in one right up, right near where our office is, and he loves it. And it's just I wish I had something that nice when I was just out of college. But, just a little studio, it's just enough. It's just safe. It's new. It's clean. It has an elevator to it. It has this bed system that drops down from the ceiling. But we have everything from those very small studios to a 2-bedroom apartment, but no 3-bedroom apartments or anything. So, the square footages of these are smaller, but very, very nicely appointed. We have space inside the building for bicycles and, all the things that you would normally want if you're a young rising, young professional or an older person. I'm in my 60s now, maybe, the big house and all that stuff it's just, it would be nice to live in one of these places and be walkable to the city, also drivable to all our major road systems and drivable to the highway. So it's very well situated. We also did some other information that staff asked us about. There's trails back there along the right side of the property, along some utility corridors. And that actually goes out back to a very large, I think it's a city-owned parcel that's open space. And we want to invite people to actually use that and use those trails. And we'll bring some of those features into the site so we can do that. And actually that keeps going out to, eventually out to, I think, Millennium Park. That's out the back towards off the right side, all along, the Walmart. You can see the Walmart drainage pond over there. And then off to the right from us is a auto parts store of some sort. There's also recreation facilities, I think it's Willard Pond Complex that's up the street from us, across the street. And so you're situated right there in the middle of all that, which is great. We do have the required EVs charging stations, and those are right up near the building where, towards the rear, quiet, where they should be. We have full ADA. This is a flat site. It's a beautiful site, actually. Full ADA parking, we have information now that, ladder trucks, fire trucks, everything go around the site, in and out very nicely. There's no, dead end stubs or anything like that. We have full, trash and recycling. We'll probably have that in the building as well as a service, a feature inside the building, but we also have, screened, separate screen dumpsters around. Those would be properly maintained. We have heavily landscaped along the front. We have good sight distance. We have, a very, very good layout for retail. Circulation in the front, and then the rear wings to the left and right are more for a circuitous circulation and parking. Full parking space size is 24-foot aisles. Very, very nice, generous, turning islands and all that stuff. Anything you would expect on a project of this magnitude that you would want a high quality plan on, and we want to deliver that. We don't have it done yet, but we're working on it as the dark sky friendly lighting and cutoff, that whole thing. It's on sewer and water. The grading on the site, we actually submitted to staff today. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't probably want to see it, but we did have updates to all the utilities and all the grading on the site. So it's very, very flat. It's like flat as a pancake. The soils are really, really nice. This will require an AOT permit as well. We'll have full treatment and everything on all of that, and recharge systems. Most likely, some of those storm tech systems that you've seen, storm scepter, separators, all of that, isolator rows, all per AOT requirements. The roof will be recharged also, and everything will be treated properly. We also have sidewalks in the site, so everywhere you would want to walk, there's a sidewalk for it, and it's all interconnected. So we're definitely spending the money to do this right. There's a couple. I don't want to make sure that I didn't miss anything, but I'm pretty much going to open it up for questions once Mark, the architect, just does a quick summary of the building. It's a fantastic building, and if you want to hear from the traffic engineer, Michael's here as well. Sorry if I'm talking so fast, but if you want me to slow down, I will. But there's one thing on the master planning I just wanted to point out and just throw a couple slides up for you. I'm going to have to just find it first. Just waiting for it to load up. So in the city of Somersworth, for multifamily, essentially the zoning, and I'm just summarizing. You guys know more about this. Obviously, you've been here for so long, and but we're in the RC zone, which is sort of allowing mixed-use zoning and some multifamily, and then the R3 zone also allows multifamily technically, and the zoning tables make us use the R3 zoning for the multifamily calculation, which staff has provided some rough numbers on that. So on this site, you can see the purple. That's our RC zone, and we're a little blue square in the middle of that purple strip, which is basically up and down the southern part of High Street. And then the orange part up there is the R3 zone. So that's sort of where we are in terms of zoning, in terms of where we would, where can we put multifamily. And this is sort of a courtyard apartment site that you can see in your own master plan that you're talking about different kinds of multifamily and infill and right sizing and all of that. So, we're doing this, which would provide the needed, type of rental homes, rental housing that, that you're looking for in your master plan. So even in your master plan, you've highlighted some different areas and zones that you would focus and refocus some energy on. If we're going to put multifamily in the city and do a high quality multifamily, where would that go? And some of those zones we're talking about more the higher density multifamily, and that's still the same areas that you drew a bubble, like the orange bubble there, basically downtown, but centered in that R3 zone, and also the yellowish bubble there, which is sort of centered around the zone that we're in right now. For a multifamily of this type of project, high quality and everything, we really need sewer and water. So we do have municipal sewer and water, co-located right in our front yard and our backyard. They're all there. So this green area is, it might not be exact, but this is what the planning layers showed in the state where, we're in the city, do we have both sewer and water that's municipal that, has the capacity and all of that to service that type of project. So, the white areas, we probably shouldn't be doing, any large multifamily. The green areas sort of are, that's congruent. We should be focusing on those. And our site is right in the middle of all that. Also, another aspect of multifamily is, we don't want to be driving through neighborhoods and everything to get to a multifamily development, a building or anything. We really want to be on the main road corridors, and we are actually. So we're on, that one of those main road corridors, and that gives us good access. We're right in the middle. We're actually surrounded by retail with some residential in the rear, but we're right in the middle of, the exit ramps for the highway to get to other, work and commerce centers, and also be able to go right downtown. And we're on the transit line, the bus stop. So we're right on that stop, and we look forward to reaching out to the transit company to bring a bus stop instead of out front in the kind of a cold sidewalk. Actually, bring it close to the building in the courtyard area, and where people like to do stuff together, social. I don't have any social skills, you can see, but those social skills that people like to do things together. One of the last thing is the park. So just to give you an idea, so that blue square in the middle there, upper, that's our site. And but there's trails that exist. Those purple trails exist, all along the Walmart pond back there. There's existing easements down through there, the utility corridors, and that brings us to I think the city owns that, the big open space parcel with lots of trails through it. And then it wraps around through some other open space to Millennium. I can't read it from here, but Millennium Park, I think. And then we have the other way where if we go up the sidewalk, we can get into the pond, that whole complex down there. So it's kind of cool. It's right in the middle of everything. It's a great place, to live if you're young or old or in between. So that was sort of some of the ideas. I also sent staff some highlighted area. I'm not going to go through it with you. You're not going to want to hear from me. But in terms of the master planning and some of the new chapters that you guys have been working on and the goals on those items. And I think you had a self-audit on some factors as well. And you had goals on those too. So we really took those seriously. I'm not going to bore you guys with that, but we really did read all of that and tried to interpret where you wanted to be with it. And we believe that this site really would get like an A+. Like we want to win an award on this site for the city because it'll really advance you towards meeting those goals in many, many ways. So I'm not going to get into any more real detail on anything other than, we really look forward to getting your support on this. I think we have to go to ZBA for a special exception and a density requirement. We're at about, and this is addressed in the master plan goals too. We're at about half the density that you would be at about half of what we're proposing. We really, we think that because the infrastructure is there, we're not asking for anything else on the site. The site super supports this thing, where we have tons of parking. We are showing in the parking calcs the EV credits for spaces, but we're not using all of them. We don't have to. I think there's some credits on another category now. I can't remember what that category was. Transit, I think. But we have at least 1.5 spaces per unit, and a lot of areas that we're doing apartment sites and multifamily, they're down to like 1 space per unit if it's an efficiency, that type of thing. But we're at 1.5 plus or minus how you calculate it, not including all the spaces that it needs for the commercial. So the commercial spaces would be out front. I got to go back to that slide, but the front areas of the front of the buildings flanking left and right. So the courtyard is to be used by everybody, including commercial, customers and that type of thing. So I don't think our intent was not to ask for any waivers of the site plan regulations. There might be some that it might be like administrative, I'm not sure. I know there's a building height criteria that technically allows this board to say that, well, since we have 100 foot to like 169 feet of separation, that the board might be able to actually support that because we've pulled all this stuff way into the middle of the site. One other thing is on drainage. So if you calculate the existing impervious of the site right now, and you drive by it every day, I'm sure you've been to that church and everything, and that existing impervious coverage for the roof and the pavement, it all works and everything, but that percentage, and I can't remember off the top of my head, I can find it in the plans, we're holding that. We're actually, any of the additional roof or pavement that we're putting in, and that would be around the edges of the site where the residential is, it's all going to be porous pavement. So this is a perfect site for porous pavement, for the AOT considerations and treatment and everything. So I know that the city has talked about, even in their master planning, heat zones, and they don't want to put big parking lots in and big buildings and big roofs and big everything, and you get this heat effect and all the noise that goes with those uses and everything. We're actually going to be at the same percentage of impervious as what's out there now. So there's a lot of green out there. There's a lot of lawn that's flat, and we're going to be utilizing that. But in terms of a drainage management program, we will be doing a very, very good job with that. I know as we get into a final site plan, if we're successful with ZBA, then we'll be doing all the detailing. This will be a 50-sheet set or so with everything in there that you would expect on a project like this. And we're not cutting any corners or anything. And we look forward to working with staff. Staff's been great, by the way, and this board. And I think we had there might be some abutters here, and we'd love to meet with them. I think we did try to reach out at least once, more than once, to try to meet with abutters. But I think at this point, I hope to be able to meet them and meet them with our team and have some discussions with them if they would like to. Other than that, what I'd like to do is, if it's okay, Mr. Chair, if Mark could come up and just talk a little bit about his building, I can find his building on the laptop. And then if you want to hear from the traffic engineer, we can do a summary on that. And then, we'll all be here for questions or input or anything.
Okay. What do you want to do next?
All right, Mark. I'll try to get your plan set up.
Find that. You can lead. How do you forward from there? Just with the mouse.
Yeah. You just do the mouse down.
Okay.
You go up and down. With
Yeah.
the wheel.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Yanowitz, principal of LYF Architects, and I was fortunate to be here in November, and we met and discussed initial concept of the project. It's very similar to what we looked at in November. We were continually refining it, and we would expect to continue to refine it as we further develop the plans, of course. The images here in the lower right corner is that center courtyard. That's the commercial facing. We're going again with a kind of modern New England vernacular, is what we're calling it, and it's bringing it's 21st century type building. It'll be a low energy building, high efficiency, and very durable, in the materials, using some brick veneer, some composite siding, which all again, durability, high efficiency equipment, very likely an all electric building with high efficiency equipment. We'll kind of there's a series. So again, the public kind of courtyard. Then we also have some private balconies and so forth. I'll kind of scroll
back to the entry. Yes, yeah, that would be good. So, in general, the H-shaped building has that center courtyard. We ended up adjusting the unit mix a little bit from November, and largely with feedback from traffic. We've made the commercial square footage a little smaller to make sure we had balanced parking for the units. And we brought some additional units on the ground level. And on the right side of the courtyard, there are actually some residential units, but we landscaped that area to kind of give that buffer to them. And I'm not sure if we could zoom in a little bit. The two end units would be the commercial zone. We envision a cafe, bistro on the left side, probably retail or some sort of professional service on the right. We would have outdoor seating, and the interesting thing about these kind of H-shaped buildings is you end up getting some dead zones at the intersections. So we're going to have a number of amenity spaces within the buildings for the tenants. And we also are showing, kind of a large welcoming lobby that we envision the ability to invite the community into the lobby and perhaps use conference rooms, use meeting spaces that can be scheduled, that community members can kind of enjoy the plaza, visit the bistro, and actually use some interior conference community space, and really make it kind of a welcoming site for visitors as well as the residents. As Carl mentioned, the rear courtyard is a quiet zone. You have residential units facing it. It would be landscaped and have some walking trail access. On each of the floors above, we would, just be stacking, again, a series of studio 1 and 2 bedrooms. I'll say the studios are smaller units, but they're still roughly, 550 square feet. It's a decent, these aren't micro apartments. They're comfortable. We sometimes will designate kind of sleeping kind of partitions, 6-foot-high partitions, so someone can, it's not just a bed in the living room type of thing. So they are comfortable size units, and again, with all sorts of, comfortable amenities within it. You see at the intersections, the green spaces are other amenity spaces that we may have kind of, hybrid rework type of zones that people could actually work outside of their apartment, have other conference spaces, other activity spaces for the tenants on each floor. We did have a fair amount of storage on the lower level as well, and so the darker green was self-storage for the tenants that give them ability to kind of expand, storage for their apartments, so they're not on top of each other as much there. Moving forward, we're showing the exterior elevations, and again, kind of keeping the quality and vernacular of the building on all sides of the building. Kind of breaking up the mass with different material coloring. We're thinking of kind of wood tones, even some natural woods, as well as dark charcoal, and again, the brick veneer. We would eventually provide samples for as well. But that's pretty much, the concept. And, I think we've further enhance the landscape is a big element of, as Carl mentioned, on all sides of the building. So happy to answer any questions now or as we continue to discuss it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. And also, I'd like to bring up Michael, the traffic engineer, so he can introduce himself, and we can talk about traffic all day long if you want, or as much as you want or as little as you want. But he ran on all the numbers and everything and some alternatives. So here you go.
Thank you, Carl. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael White. I am a transportation designer and project manager with Howard Stein Hudson. We are an engineering consulting firm out of Massachusetts. I unfortunately don't have any pretty pictures for you all to look at, but I can summarize the report we shared with you all relatively quickly, and we can get on to questions, which I'm sure you all have. So the building program that we took a look at is slightly different than what has been discussed so far tonight. We looked at 172 units instead of 171 units. In the grand scheme of things, it's really not a difference maker in trip generation. We looked at 4,200 square feet of ground floor commercial space and 270 parking spaces on site. So the first thing we do when we do our transportation analysis is we look at existing conditions. We placed an ATR, an automatic traffic recording device, across High Street right in front of our site. That collected volume over a 2-day period in early February. This was about 2 weeks after the major snowstorm we all got in New England. Our traffic consultant, our data collection consultant, spoke with your DPW, and they informed us when the best time to put it down would have been based on your plow schedules and when all the snow would have been removed from the roadway. From that data collection effort, we found that on average across a 2-day period in early February, High Street sees an approximate total of 20,000 vehicles total. That's about 10,400 vehicles in the northbound direction, 9,900 vehicles in the southbound direction. So it's about a 50-50 split in either direction. We also collected speed data, which shows right in front of our site the 85th percentile speed, which is 85% and below. Vehicles are traveling at about 37 miles per hour in the northbound direction, 33 miles per hour in the southbound direction. After that, we run through our industry standard trip generation exercise. We based our trip generation on Land Use Code 221, which is multifamily mid-rise apartment buildings. That's anywhere from 4 stories to 10 stories. And we also ran Land Use Code 822, which is a strip retail plaza. And that's kind of a conglomeration of retail establishments all in one facility. Our trip generation numbers worked out to approximately 996 vehicles per day, 81 vehicle trips per AM peak hour. That's 24 entering the site, 57 exiting the site. 92 vehicle trips during the PM peak hour, 55 entering the site, 37 exiting the site. That equates to less than 1 trip per minute, depending on the trip distribution. Our trip distribution is based on census data. So essentially, we took journey to work information for the city of Somersworth. I live in Medford, Massachusetts, right next to Somerville, so stumbled on that one a little bit. And we found that 15% of Somersworth residents travel to the north, and about 85% travel to the south. So based on that percentage, splitting up the peak hour volumes, that's less than 1 vehicle trip going in either direction on High Street. We also performed some site distance analysis at the proposed site driveways. So as you can see on the pretty picture, the one pretty picture that we can show you. The project is proposing 2 site driveways on High Street, one on the north or page right, and one on the south or page left. That site distance analysis was based on AASHTO and also the Somersworth minimum street sight distance guidelines, which are relatively similar. AASHTO intersection sight distance, which is a vehicle stopped within our driveway, looking in either direction, knowing when they can turn. That sight distance required is about 462 feet for a vehicle turning left out of either site driveway and about 354 feet for a vehicle turning right out of either site driveway. Our measurements at the north driveway are 575 feet looking to the north and over 600 feet looking to the south. At the south driveway, it's over 600 feet in either direction. That is really a high-level synopsis of the analysis we've performed. So again, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So we also ran an alternate condition analysis, which is an as-of-right condition, basically all retail or commercial establishments on site, and that condition generates a significantly higher volume. We're looking at an as-of-right build out as much as possible. We're looking at over 5,000 daily vehicle trips, over 380 AM peak hour trips, and over 500 PM peak hour trips. So our currently proposed is 4,300 vehicles less than what the as-of-right would have been, over 300 vehicles less in the AM peak hour, and over 400 vehicles less in the PM peak hour. So if the project were to go as of right, it would be a significant traffic impact. The currently proposed is a very minimal impact based on the existing volumes that we know on High Street.
Thank you.
Of course. I also have copies of the traffic report and that alt analysis if anyone would like it.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions for us or anything, or if you want to
At
open
this
it
time,
up.
we'll turn to a public hearing and get public comment, and then we'll ask for questions from the board. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, I'll open a public hearing. Anybody from the public care to comment on this application? Again, state your name and your address or your ward number.
James Manhart. I'm at 8 Cinnamon Ridge Road. I've lived there for 22 years. So we've been before the zoning and planning committee recently with the Ready Care project that's still in progress. And I think the zoning board and the planning board did very nice listening to what some of the concerns were. We'll just have to see what the impact is yet, I think, on there. I read with interest when this was reported in the Fosters in November. And I guess my first concern was 4 stories. Why not 3 stories or 2 stories? There's no 4-story building in that whole area. When we had that proposal at the Armory, what we were going to build there, that went down, that thing didn't belong there. So if variances are needed, at least the Fosters said there were only supposed to be like 70 apartments. We're asking for, I guess they've cut out one apartment, 171. I think, at least as an abutter to this area, some rationale as to why we're making that exception, or how many apartments would be lost if it was only 3 stories. I think you'd still have to give a variance on it. The traffic study, I'm glad that I looked at the traffic study. The only thing I would question there on February 3rd and 4th is winter. Do you get the same traffic if we get into spring fever time like in May or in July? Traffic has always been a concern. It was a concern for those of us in Cinnamon Ridge going on to Stackpole Road when we came before the board. I do like seeing they are looking at the backside of the building and the buffer that's there. The Catholic Church there has been a good neighbor. In terms of noise, it's only one time a year we ever had noise, and that was the DJ with the festival, and that only went to 8 p.m. or something. So they were good neighbors. We had like good neighbors there too. I'm kind of curious because I am a hiker. They're talking about the making connections with those trails. Right now, most of those trails are in disrepair because ATVs were using the backside there. But if that connected all the way to Millennial, it would give you almost a circular path and be better for those of us that have been using the school site and trying to get across Stackpole Road sometimes is very difficult. Somewhat, I did like that he mentioned the sewer because I'm on the news dump there, and every time we have our sewers breaking and overflowing. So do due diligence because the sewer is right outside my property there. I don't want it overflowing and making sure it all goes there if they're hooking to the same part. The other thing, and this is somewhat facetious, and I'll end with this, but the police, the Somersworth police always have used that parking lot, and their presence has kept that traffic, I think, down to a reasonable speed limit. If the new owner wanted to give them a special parking lot slot that the police could still show up, I think that might solve some of the traffic problems. Thank you. These are just suggestions. I know you'll do due diligence.
Thank you. Anyone else care to comment? Director Mears, is there any correspondence?
None this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Close the public hearing. Turn to questions from the board. Mr. Rhodes, then Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have a couple of questions, one critical note on the plan, and then I'll go into the very long list of things that I'm extremely happy about to see here. So for the one critical note, this is something that I'm sure people on the board expected me to bring up. The landscaping plan includes a number of non-native species. Honey locust, one that I'm particularly annoyed about when it shows up around here. Kwanzaa cherry. I would suggest working with city staff on more appropriate plantings for the site. In terms of the actual layout of the landscaping, the quantity of it, could not be happier. Just one quibble with some of the species there. A couple of questions around here. When you had come up for conceptual review prior, you had mentioned some of the units being workforce level as opposed to market rate. Is that still an item that's under consideration under plan? And could you go into a little bit more detail on that if that's the case?
Yes, we will have a reserved space for our finest also, and they'll be able to get in there and, the bistro as well too. On the plan, I can't wait to get back to the office in the morning because if there are any non-native species on there, it's also I had them check your list and they said, no, it isn't. But if there is, we will get rid of them immediately and put back in what you have on your list. We're really, it will be done tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Honey Locust is a North American native, but not to this region.
Absolutely.
Quans and Cherry's Asian. There's a couple others that are all
Absolutely, yes. So the question you had was?
Workforce housing.
Oh, workforce housing. All right. So the answer is yes. If we can get that density, then there would be some provision that we can negotiate with the city on the workforce housing component. And so the density allows us to do that and still afford to put the project together and everything else. And it's a great thing, because if we can deliver on workforce, that's awesome. And it meets, it goes to the state laws and the RSAs and all of that. And the answer is yes. I just don't know what the percentage would be, but that would be negotiated. And I think that would have to be set as we lead up to a final submission. And we don't know who to talk to, but we'll go to, Ms. Mears and staff and say, well, what do you think? Here are the numbers. What can we do? And just to let you know, like, as you probably already know, workforce housing is not, like strictly affordable. It's more workforce, that they're, it's really for working people that, aren't rich or anything, but still put food on the table and do all the things that we do. And we definitely want to deliver on that. And that's why we have the density the way we have it, so that we can actually have some play and work with the city on that. So if we had some advice from staff on that, we're ready.
That's very good to hear. And I think that is a lot of the reason for the increased height and the increased density is the ability to be more flexible with what's done on the site. As you mentioned, workforce housing is not strictly low rate, but it is more sane or less insane than market rate prices around here.
Yes, and there's guidelines for that as well, as we all know, and we will meet those. There's formulas for all of that, and then at the end of the day, it's just what's the percentage that we can offer on that based on what we get to deliver for density. Yes.
Excellent. Jumping over to points where I am extremely happy with what you've put in front of us. Your willingness to speak with abutters and hopefully follow through on that is also encouraging. There are many abutters to this property. It's a large open space that you're looking at working with here once the church is not on the site anymore. So your willingness to work with abutters, and particularly around the encroachments that you mentioned, is very encouraging. The fact that you've already been in contact with Coast about bringing the bus pickup and drop off to the interior is a major plus. High Street there is quite busy, particularly during commute hours, and getting that space off of High Street is good for both High Street and for the bus passengers. So very happy to hear that. Talking about the traffic, the by right use of the property versus residential. When you were here for conceptual review, I referred to this as kind of a transitional area of High Street. And I think this plan, this design as it's been presented, really embraces that transitional area. It's higher density residential than we have in a lot of places in the city, but it is still residential. It is mixed use. And it respects the fact that when you go a little bit further south on High Street, you're into large box retail development. When you go further north on High Street, you start seeing that commercial use drop off rather quickly into residential, and the residential uses in there are increasing with the redevelopment of the Ready Care there. I expect we'll see this area continue to be that transitional space, and the fact that your development proposal matches with that transitional nature is extremely good to see. I think it preserves the natural flow of the lots as they've developed over time as the market's dictated there. The character of the development here, the structure of the interior, the large H-shaped building, the community spaces, it's very reminiscent to me of the apartments that my wife and I lived in before we bought a home here in Somersworth. We lived at Sawyer Mill in Dover, which is a old mill building that's been turned into residential spaces. The mix of units, the interior structure, community spaces inside there, apart from the fact that you go even further in that direction by including some mixed use in this space, it's very reminiscent of that, and that does form communities. Something that I think is sorely lacking, particularly in large multifamily developments. So the fact that you've been mindful of that and you're creating a space that has that character is something that I cannot applaud enough. The fact that you've spoken about public art on the space is also extremely encouraging. It's something that a lot of developers don't think of, and the fact that you've given it some thought slots this into a community space, and particularly where the current use of the property is a religious building, it preserves some of that community character as well. Couldn't be happier about that. The trails that you've spoken of, I believe that one links down towards Malley Farm, which is in discussion of being put into conservation. The fact that you're including a walkable plan for it, that you've thought of that with the Willand Pond site with Millennium Park, couldn't be happier about that in here as well. The architecture of the site, we're used to seeing architecture waivers, and nobody here has really been able to define what New England architecture is, but I think I know it when I see it, and this is it. So very good to see that. The building type fits. The only concern that I'd have with height is if fire raises concerns about the height, and I don't think they're going to, but if they do, I'm sure you'd listen to them. Talking about the alternate uses for this of residential versus commercial, and this becomes a little bit of an emotional topic for people who drive on High Street. If this was a commercial development, we would be talking about an additional light near one that's already in place. With the traffic generation that you're looking at for residential, I'm not convinced that's necessary. It's something that I'm sure you'll talk over with city staff, but the possible avoidance of that is another plus on this one. Finally, I want to end this off with a deeper emotional concern that folks might have for the site. When we've talked about large multifamilies in the city before, we've been talking about removal of abandoned buildings, redevelopment of a burned out old bleachery, things like that. This is a little different. This site is a church. This was a community center. It was a place of worship. People were married on this site. People had funerals here. People had their children baptized and christened here. This is a center of community life for a large group of this community. And when we talk about where this could go, when we're talking about building a community here, compare that to what would happen if we were talking about a strip mall. You're proposing building something here that adds to the community, that lets people build lives, as opposed to just a place to shop. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we talk about exemptions, variances, traffic, building heights, possible community impact. You're retaining a community. The deconsecration of a church, I'm not Catholic, I'm not a terribly religious man, but I don't think it's something a diocese takes lightly. And the fact that they've worked with you to build something here that maintains a community is moving. I couldn't be more in favor of what you're proposing here. I think there's a few details to work out, but this is an admirable addition to our city. I couldn't be happier with what you're doing. So, thank you.
Mr. Richardson.
Yeah, how do you follow that? Jeremy, I mean, I got to tell you, that was heartfelt and very good. So I hope everybody appreciates that because every word of it's true. Thank you, Jeremy. I do have some practical things I want to address here. And part of it is because what we have as a plan is a little bit different than what's shown on there. And because I'm a solid waste recycling guy, that's been my career, I noticed on there that first of all, you got 3 dumpsters out there. That's probably a good thing. But you have one on the left that on this one that we have is down in the corner. And frankly, the one on the left is the better position for accessibility by solid waste trucks to dump it out. They need 60, 65 feet straight run to get to them. They have that on this, but this, after he dumps the one up in the top corner, he's got to do gymnastics route to get back to that one, to get that kind of a run. That's a little bit different plan and it's great because now that I have new eyes, I can actually see that. But where it is on there, I realize that's a bump out, and whether or not you're losing any parking spaces for that one on the left-hand side, I'm not sure. But which one are we going to be looking at when it's built?
So this was a last-minute adjustment that we made. So the purpose of that dumpster is really for the front commercial, like the bistro. So it's, And we have a walkable space actually to that dumpster now as well. Before it was kind of off. But we wanted to slide the dumpster back slightly. This was at a request. We finally got a hold of Jake. Jake actually met with the owner of the site to the left of us. And I think her name was Lisa. And she was very kind. And I don't want to speak for her, but she said, hey, can you like pull that stuff out of there? Like, why are you putting the dumpster in the front? Like, even if it's buffered, why don't you put it off to the side? And that allows us for, you can almost picture it like that could be connected now. The site could be connected to the left, and we're not like walking past, crossing the aisle for dumpsters and everything. If she was connected and she decided to improve her property and with easements and all that. And then we have dumpsters in the rear as well. But and those dumpsters are ADA accessible, by the way. They're a little bit larger, and it gets involved with like these doors and everything.
Yeah.
But we would rather offer it to ADA, tenants that we would like to take care of their trash. But as you know, in the federal guidelines, they still have to have a right to actually want to do it. And it's pride. So we have all that accommodation. This one's not an ADA dumpster, but it's still smaller. It's still a 10 by 20. But it does have the actual room to back out and then keep going through. And, all the aisles are really wide. You don't see any, like, real tight corners on anything. Nice rounded. But that actually does clear a dumpster truck in it. But what I would do is we'll add the dumpster truck packaging on the site as we did with the fire truck and everything. Mm-hmm. But that was really the request of Lisa, the abutter, and we look forward to working with her. We look forward to working on all the abutters. And that was just setting things up for success for her, and at least not block her off and ask people to walk, employees to walk across an aisle that might be busy to do a dumpster thing.
Yeah, that's very good. I mean, I printed off some of the requirements of solid waste front load trucks if anybody wanted to look at it.
I'd like to have it. Yeah, I'd like to. Oh,
I mean, what they need.
Can I approach?
What they need for what they need for turning radius and what they need for approach and all that other kind of thing.
We will. We'll make sure that we embed these details.
Because the way it is on here, that driver's got to go through gymnastics driving around that lot to get to that one down in the corner down there.
Yeah, I think there's some things we can do.
Yeah. But I also noticed that you have walkways on this one that you don't have on this one.
Right. So we do have extra copies of it if you want.
Okay.
We can probably pass them out. We didn't want to say, here we are, here's our new plans. We didn't want to do that because, most planning board members would get upset. But there are little tiny things that people are asking us along the way on the lead up. And we're like, well, we wanted to be proactive. So we do have the updated plans, and we emailed them as well. So if you want copies.
The other thing I just want to say, I think when we talked about this before, I made a comment about as far as New England architecture, you did about as well as you could do. Well, seeing it this way and seeing it on the plan here, you really did as good as you can do for a New England architecture design without having to ask for a waiver on that, I don't think. But anyway, it's a good plan. You have more two-bedroom apartments than any other housing complex that's been put in here, I think probably combined, which to me is a good thing. We can get some families in there, and I always like to say that second bedroom can always have bunk beds. So you might get more than one kid, you might have two, but I think buildings like this need kids. I really do. We don't need to have places. You're doing a great job with the aesthetics of the building and the open spaces and connecting to the trails. Have some kids around. People need kids around. I don't have any more kids in my street, and it drives me crazy. Nobody's out playing ball in the summertime on this. All the kids aren't riding their bikes, but there's an opportunity here to have kids, and with that trail connection, you're going the next level. Are they going to be allowed to have dogs and walk dogs?
I think there'll be some kind of a. I don't think we could do support bull mastiffs or anything, but there would be some kind of a proper, tenant lease agreement for small pets.
It adds to the community part of it. Yeah. And I just think that's a wonderful thing that you're doing if you do all that. So Thank you very much.
We also had I think the church has some kind of a memorial there while we're looking at that left side. You probably all know the detail of it, but we want to be respectful of that. And if there's any way that we can work that memorial back into the plaza or do something different, it really is up to Jake and the church. But we're respectful of that. I mean, I was married 34 years ago, and St. Monica's Parish, and that's gone. It's a CVS now. So, if we can honor that and bring people together, that was all part of this.
That's a good thing. Thank you.
Mr. Witham.
Thank you. I think Mr. Rhodes did us all a favor in cutting down the amount of comment, because he said it in a whole lot better than I would say it. But one of the notes I wrote down here, and it was a reminder of our meeting back in November, that we latched onto this notion that this is a transitional type of property, and I could not agree more. And I think what could go on this site by right, a strip mall has been mentioned. I know the thought of a grocery store was once mentioned. All of those things seem to be, quite frankly, a terrible abutter to everything around here. It just doesn't work. And I've long thought, I am a member of the parish that owns this church. I was actually baptized in this church. I'm pointing to that like it's the church. It's not the church, it's the site, right? I think this is sort of the perfect, what could this be answer, right? The notion about the height, I know 4 stories seems big. It is, particularly in comparison to what's around here. But as I've learned from other developers and other projects, that once you have a foundation, in order to make the math work, because these buildings are wicked expensive, you need to have so much income, and that is generated by your rental units. So there's just a math to this thing, right? When we built our new fire station a handful of years ago now, there was discussion about, we're going up to a 2-story fire station. It was a heck of a lot cheaper than trying to get all of the components we needed on one floor, because the roofing system gets bigger, the foundation gets bigger. Going up is just cheaper, and you get more bang for your buck. And to that end, we talk about the ability to put in maybe some workforce housing, or maybe additional 2 bedrooms and things of that nature. This allows for that. I think that the peaked roofs, although that adds to the height, I think helps here. I think it creates more of a New England feel. It doesn't feel so boxy. I think it actually helps to make this a bit more subtle. I am not worried about the height of buildings. We've recognized here in the city that we're 10 square miles. We're one of the more densely compact communities in the state. That our growth is going to be vertical here in the city. We have an aerial ladder truck. The City Council recently authorized the purchase of a new one that I think it's a 105-foot aerial that could easily service buildings like this. We're making that investment. That is a $2.3 million piece of equipment, right? But we know that that's what we need to do because of the way our community is changing. So I get the concern, but I'm not terribly worried about it. Similarly, I guess I'm going to blow the city's horn here a little bit. We have positioned ourselves, I think, rather well for developments like this, right? We talk about water and sewer infrastructure. We have been sort of bullish in terms of our investment in our water and wastewater treatment plants, our water and sewer utilities in the ground, and we continue to be so. I think we are well positioned to take on projects like this. You talk about the corridor and its proximity to the highway system, the highway network, and to public transit. This community supports public transit. Coast, I would argue, is one of the stronger public transit networks in the state, and the city funds that, helps to fund that. Ridership in Somersworth is extremely high. and it continues to grow. So the fact that you're talking with them and getting them in there is just furtherance of that. So I think that is terrific. Long and short, I think this is a fabulous project for all of the right reasons that have been articulated, and maybe a whole bunch more that we're not smart enough to see just yet. So one question I do have is for Director Mears. We're calling this a design review process, and you articulated a bunch of
Yeah,
date
so we
frames
just
and
we
time
just
frames.
have to have a motion to close the design review process.
Got it. Because this is something that we've not typically done.
We did it for the pickleball court. I think the apartments, right, or the condos. So with FX.
Got it. All right. So I'll stop there.
Mr. Wodzinski. If you want to put your mic in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of questions. I apologize for trying to read your plans. How tall is the building to the highest peak?
How tall?
Yeah, I see 55 feet to mean roof elevation.
Right.
So how tall is it to the peak?
Guesstimate that.
If you can come up to the mic, please.
I can read it here.
He's looking it up.
There's
I'm just.
another dimension after that.
Since we have a slab on grade, so we go up, and then there's a.
Oh, I see.
We're average. So I think the definition in the city is the average from the soffit to the ridge line. So that would be approximately half the distance.
So it's actually not to the peak.
No, that the peak is a little further up, but the soffit is actually further down as well. I think the actual calculation was somewhere around 55 feet.
So if we were determining how far the setback should be because of height, is that the number you'd use, or would you use the height of the roof peak itself?
I thought you're. Oh, I know, but.
Oh,
I wanted them to show that diagram that you had.
Yeah, so there was one diagram we had put on the note sheet, but we're going to be doing scaled sections through for multiple locations. But we did a very simple diagram on one of the note sheets. Yes, right here. And
Yeah, right, I
so we're
saw
just
that.
Trying to show what the ratio. So on the right side, it would be, say it's a property line, and then if we were at a 30 or a 35-foot setback, depending on where you are, what would that angle, what would
Right.
that look like
So-
at a maximum of 35 feet? And then if we're setting the building back further, 100, 169 feet, even further, how would that look from the property
Right.
line? Yeah.
And I looked at that, and I'm thinking, really, what I'm looking for is the peak, not
is
for
probably-
somewhere in the middle.
It's approximately 62 feet. So
That's what I would have guessed.
Yeah,
So for the purposes of that diagram, you should be using 62 feet.
Yes, sir. We will actually, this was just it's a very rough line diagram, but we typically on these projects, we would actually draw to scale, and we will do that the next round, a full scaled section, and multiple sections actually, because everyone wants to know what their section is, right, in back or around the side. So we'll do that, and there'll actually be scaled drawings, including the topo and the peaks of the roofs and any other buildings that are off the property, and how that would really look to scale.
Okay, thank you.
And a big, across the whole sheet, you'll see that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have one more question on the traffic. And I'm not really sure what you mean by peak hour. I mean, you're talking about like 90 cars going by peak hour. Is that just one period of time?
Correct. So AM and PM peak hour are the peak hour of the adjacent street traffic. So when High Street sees its highest volume in the AM for 1 hour, and when it sees its highest volume in the PM for 1 hour. That is when our project is also going to generate the most amount of trips, and those are the number of trips that we are adding to that volume on High Street.
Okay. One of the things I saw on trip distribution, and did you take into account Stackpole Road as a route to go south? which is the adjacent road at the first light. You go north and south. Because there's a school there and there's a bunch of streets. There's a street down there. I mean, if I lived there, that's the way I'd go to Maine.
So our trip distribution is based on journey to work data, which is it essentially gives you zip codes of where everyone works. And then what we do is we put that zip code into a map software and we say, how do we get from here to there?
Okay.
So we did not necessarily look at that specific street. We can absolutely distribute trips to that street. However, it will just reduce volume on other roads and more disperse the traffic.
Well, I'm also thinking it's a kind of a quiet street and there's a lot of people down. The gentleman there lives on Cinnamon Ridge and there'd be increasing traffic down that path by. And so I think it'd be worth taking a look at that.
Sure.
Because of the, you're changing that neighborhood.
Absolutely.
A little bit. I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But that's southbound traffic, which is your highest, 70, 85%. That's southbound traffic that will be going by the school and going by the residential neighborhood.
Absolutely. And I just want to clarify, it's not all 85% will be going through that neighborhood. It's just 85% is headed.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I understand. But I know what that Spalding Turnpike looks like at 6:30 in the morning, and I don't like driving it.
Absolutely.
It's 80 all the way down.
We can certainly look at that roadway for everyone in the community.
Thank you.
Got a question. The left-hand turn out of the north access.
Sure.
Well, there's an awful lot of shrubbery there as far as whether you can see down, and there's a little curve in the road. Even with nothing there now, trying to take a left out of there, because people are anxious to get home at night, especially at 5 o'clock, so they're coming down around that corner pretty quick.
Sure.
And I don't know if the shrubbery will give people a really good look along the front of that property.
So it's definitely, sightlines are a huge concern for safety, obviously. And we will ensure that shrubbery is set back far enough to ensure there is more than the minimum required sight distance. Again, our 85th percentile speed was right around the speed limit. That doesn't mean people don't speed. There were certainly higher speeds on the roadway. And that calculation is based on that 85th percentile speed, and that's just an industry standard. So we can certainly make sure that, yes, that shrubbery is pulled back as far as possible. We give as much as possible for the sightlines. In that left turn going, southbound, thank you. Sorry, looking at it upside down. You're crossing a lot of lanes of traffic, and that all gets calculated into that minimum required sight distance. So as long as that sight distance is met, federal regulations call that a safe intersection.
Well, hopefully it's maintained, because we've had a problem with the Walmart parcel as far as
we'll do that.
trimming shrubbery so people can see where they're
Also, when
driving.
one of our landscape architects putting the plan together, we were looking over the screen with him, and I remember saying, on the updated landscape plan, he did not turn on the sight distance car and the sight distance triangle. But on the original one, we did, and we were assuming, because we didn't have the information, we were assuming a 400-foot minimum sight distance clear all season, including shrubs and everything. And but we will make sure that, I think you might have been at like a 450 or 462, so we'll make sure that we clear even more out. Yeah, it's very easy to do, and we still have plenty of room to still landscape, so we'll make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Barry, then Mr. Witham.
Thank you.
Sorry, could I say one more thing on the sight distance?
Go ahead.
Somersworth minimum street sight distance guidelines do say 400 feet. AASHTO, which is a federal regulation, says 462 feet must be met. We're measuring quite a bit more than that, over 100 feet in either direction more than that. AASHTO also regulates the height of shrubbery that can be within a sight triangle. So essentially where a driver can see to their right or left. And that's no more than 3 feet above the ground level. So we'll ensure, yes, that the shrubbery is maintained and also just out of that sight line entirely.
Thank you. Ms. Berry?
All right, so just a quick comment while you're still up. I mentioned it in November at the review. So I'm not a fan of that left-hand turn on the southern side, right? So for two reasons. One, the traffic at that light turning into Walmart backs up.
Sure.
It's very well known, okay? Especially at peak hours, it's going to start backing up and encroaching on that left turn. So I would say take another look at that spot. Number two, you can also see, and actually while you're pointing at it, you see the meridian lane is actually narrowing at that point. So the people turning left lose the safety and stability of that turn lane, especially with cars that are going to be banking to the left to use that left-hand turn going into that light in the southerly direction. So it might be to your benefit to make that a right turn only. All right, just a suggestion. It's not a.
Would consider.
Yeah, I don't know if the northerly exit can sustain 100% of your left-hand turns, but for safety of drivers, it might be to your benefit. At least take a look.
Sure.
So that left turn queue, I don't know, you probably didn't evaluate the queue. That's that left turn lane there. You can see coming off the right side into Walmart, right? We should probably, someone's going to ask, we might as well do it. Like, we should just look at the left turn queue there and how that's operating. And you guys probably know, I don't know, but does it get backed all the way up to there? So, and at what time, so we'd really like to be able to have lefts and right coming out of both driveways, but we understand that, and we will take a look at that. And I mean, if we had to, we would restrict it.
Yeah, because I mean, I've done traffic counts
Yeah.
studies before, and sometimes when you're there looking at the data, because you're not even manning it. You got the strips that the drivers are going over.
Yep.
So you don't see, once they go over that strip, you don't know where the cars are going, whether they go straight, they go left, they go right. So just a little bit of tribal knowledge from somebody who lives here in town.
That's a good suggestion.
That left-hand turn into Walmart can stack up. Definitely at peak hours, but watch out during holiday seasons. It can definitely back up.
Sure.
Mr. Witham?
Yeah, thanks. I'll stick on the traffic. As I talk to people in the community, that tends to be one of the things they flag for conversation around this development that has happened since it hit the press back in November, right? I think the generation of trips is a whole lot less than I would have guessed, and I knew it would be less than a commercial strip mall or grocery store or any of that. So I think we again have hit a sweet spot here. I know in the meeting in November I asked that the northerly entry exit align with Bernier Street, and you've done that. I think there's just good symmetry with that. That makes sense. I would agree with the comment about the queue of the left turn for Walmart. That may proved to be somewhat problematic, so I think it is something that needs to be looked at. I hadn't much thought about people going north to go south on Stackpole Road, but I can see them going to Stackpole Road to go to Maine, so that's a northerly trip, I guess.
Sure.
But I can see that there could be some impact on Stackpole Road, so I think it's a reasonable ask just to kind of take a look at that. My gut tells me it's not going to be significant, but let's bear that out with some science. So I think that's appropriate. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Richardson?
Yeah, and again, on this, I think what we're trying to avoid, I think, is people turning towards Stackpole Road when they actually want to go in the other direction, because that means they're going to go down Stackpole Road and either turn around on Cinnamon Ridge or turn around at the school or turn around at the new housing that's where the medical building used to be. And that's what we don't want to see.
Sure.
So that just makes life messy for a lot of people.
Yeah, one other thing with the southern driveway we could look at too is if not restricting right turns in and right turns out, we could potentially consider moving it slightly further north on the site to pull it away from that left turn. The only concern I would have with that is, as was already brought up, there's a curve in the roadway and that does reduce the site distance. So it's definitely something we'll have to look into on either where that driveway is placed or how we restrict access to that driveway.
Mr. Witham?
Yeah, I lied. I did have one more thing. So the city has made a sizable investment in the corridor. We had a federal grant where we upgraded all of our signalization through the corridor. And that requires, constant tweaking and maintenance. This is a significant enough project that I at least want to flag for the applicant the idea of having a conversation with city staff about a very reasonable exaction just to help with maintenance of a corridor, the corridor and a corridor study so that we can maintain good traffic flow that we've strived for. I think it benefits everybody. Not nailing you down to anything, but I think it's a conversation to have with staff around that.
Absolutely. Happy to have it.
Any other comments from the board?
One more thing.
Mr. Woodzinski?
03801 is Portsmouth Nail Ship. So that is a southbound path.
Okay.
That'll go right to Maine, on 236 in Maine. So that
03801.
03801 is, that's what you have listed there as.
Can you put the mic in front of you?
I'm sorry. 03801 is the shipyard, and that's when you're looking at where people are going to work, that's one of the places.
Absolutely.
And
that is probably why our southbound.
Because it looks like Portsmouth.
Yep.
But it's actually in Maine. And you'll see that's a path. But by way of Stackpole Road, it's a windy, but it's a quiet way that it's a back way.
Sure.
Back into Maine.
Yeah, we can absolutely, we'll take a look at our trip distribution. We'll zoom out a little bit and see kind of holistically where people could go if it's north to go south or if it's south to go north. We'll revisit those numbers and we'll take a better look at Stackpole Road.
Any other comments by the board? Okay, at this time, what would be the requirement for the board as far as this?
Just a motion to end the design review.
Entertain a motion to end design review. Mr. Barry? Motion made by Mr. Barry, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Rhodes. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. Chairman, I'm wondering if the board would consider moving up the workshop business for the master plan, because we have staff here from Stratford Regional Planning Commission.
Does anybody have a motion?
How long will that workshop business take? Do we know?
How long does the board want it to take at this point?
Not very.
15, 20 minutes? Is that enough time?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we can do is.
Or are we wiser to reschedule?
Reschedule, yeah.
I'm about done myself. So.
Okay.
What was that?
I said I'm about done myself.
Yeah, this has been a long night already.
Yeah.
And I feel bad, but.
That's okay, we can reschedule. Want to reschedule, or do you want me to introduce? Okay.
Yes, please.
I would suggest maybe we could introduce the chapters to you. You have the drafts, and then we come back and do a workshop.
Perfect.
How does that sound?
That's a sweet spot in the middle.
Okay. So we'll just take a few minutes. Do you want to do that now, or do you want me to wait?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
If you guys are okay with that.
Okay, I got you. So I'm Carrie Deers. I'm with the Stratford Regional Planning Commission. We were here a couple months ago to talk. I am doing the Historic and Cultural Resources chapter. So basically what we'd like from you is just your input on the direction and content of the chapter. And then just any overall, there are proposed goals and action items at the end. So there are highlighted questions within both chapters, assuming that this is the direction you'd like to go in, to kind of fill out and get your input on. So we can, I'll just briefly, when I was here last time, we talked about 2 themes that's carried through in this chapter. And and basically this chapter is split up into the great things about Somersworth's history and culture, and then some, excuse me, some suggestions or just some things to think about regarding the historic districts and regulations. So I will just leave it at that. You guys have the draft chapter, and then when we reschedule, we can just concentrate on kind of getting into the meat of everything. Oh, yeah.
And I would just suggest that if planning board members have any comments, to send those comments to staff, and we can field them over to Stratford Regional Planning Commission before the upcoming meeting.
That would be great, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we owe you lunch at some point for hanging in for 2.5 hours.
About the vision, or it's really Mark's chapter?
Sure. I'm Mike Polizzotti. I'm just filling in tonight for Mark because he was unavailable. Like Kerry said, any comments that folks have, definitely relay them to staff, and they can relay them to us. In the vision chapter, there were 3 themes that were identified, and Mark has kind of called out some key questions he's looking for feedback on, so if folks do have any feedback, definitely send it our way.
Thank you.
You got to at least watch some cool stuff that's happening here in the city.
I apologize to the board and staff on how long some of these projects have taken for review, but it was good.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, just a quick question and something maybe you could contemplate. On the historic stuff, you have a very neat timeline here. That's kind of good. Looking back, there's a lot of stuff being done now about Abenaki settlements in this region. People that I'm connected with, and I know some of the work that they're doing. Nobody knows about that. And it really would be wonderful to bring some of that stuff to life.
Okay.
For people to understand that there was life here before the settlers in the 1600s.
Right.
And how that integration took place. I'm on the board at the Wentworth House over in Rollinsford. We started bringing back 17th century event. We started with 17, we've done 2 of them now. 17th century events, and the biggest attraction are the natives doing their presentations.
Great, thank you. That's a great suggestion. Yeah.
It's a history that is just fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, next item. Under new business, 4C 15 Blackwater Road LLC is seeking a 30-day extension of the approved site plan application associated with the redevelopment of the former National Guard site to address conditions prior to final approval for properties located at 17 Blackwater Road in the recreational with the Maple Street Recreation Overlay District, REC District, assesses map 22, lot 10, site number 12-2024. Director Mears.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is requesting a 30-day extension to finalize the condo documents. Everything else has been finalized. Staff supports this extension request.
Any comments from the board? Mr. Rhodes.
Just one question. Is 30 days enough to resolve this?
Yes, I think it is.
Any other comments from the board?
Are they trying to build something there? Or?
Microphone?
No, I have a question. Are they trying to build something there? Where's the National Guard? Like demolish the building and build?
Yes, it's the construction of the 30 condominium units. It's a former city-owned property, but it was the National Guard site before that, and we worked with the developer.
And this is
on
the first time they requested something like that? There's no plan or a project?
Approved quite a while.
Yeah, it was
Approve before
approved
you got
back
on
in
the board.
2024. Yeah.
Curious, like the first time I hear.
See it?
Okay.
Any other
Send you over
comments?
the plans.
Anybody have a motion?
Motion for the 30-day extension be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hood and seconded by Mr. Witham. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? The extension is granted. Item 4D under new business, Jim Angotti is seeking a 120-day extension of the approved site plan for a 29,347 square foot car dealership with associated parking infrastructure on a property located at 370 Route 108 in the Commercial Industrial CI District. Assessors Map 58, Lot 03, site number 08-2025.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is still working with New Hampshire DOT on the updated driveway permit. We're requesting a 120-day extension, and this would give them till July 18th to meet the conditions prior to final approval, and staff supports this extension request.
Comments from the board? Mr. Richardson.
I've got to ask this, is it just Somersworth that's having, I can't imagine it is, but is it just Somersworth that's having all these delays on driveway permits from DOT?
I can ask area directors if they've had other issues with this, but I don't think it's just a Somersworth issue.
It just seems to be a big problem that hopefully one day they can solve. Is it a staffing issue or what is it? I mean,
I believe that there's not enough staff
yeah.
to review some of these applications.
The other fascinating thing with this one is that it's already a developed site, and basically the driveway is going to be about where it is now. So it's like.
Any other comments from the board?
Move that we grant the extension.
Motion made by Mr. Witham, seconded by Mr. Berry. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Extension is granted. Item 4E under new business, public hearing, site plan regulations and subdivision regulations, fees amendment, fees and adoption of the project surety schedule and performance guarantee. Director Mears.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Planning Board at the February meeting reviewed all the documents related to the fee schedule for site plan and subdivision. I was asked to update the performance or project surety schedule. Staff did take a look at this, and that has been updated. It's the Excel spreadsheet. This is just the public hearing to update these fees.
All right. So open the public hearing. Director Mears, any correspondence concerning this item?
None this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing none, close public hearing. Comments from the board? Seeing none, what action should be taken at this moment?
I think we should have a motion.
Motion to send to council.
No, it's just the Planning Board. So.
I'd move that the site review regulations, subdivision regulations, fee update be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Witham, seconded by Mr. Rhodes. Discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion is granted. Item F, any new business coming before the board? Director Mears.
None this evening, Mr. Chairman?
Workshop business, we have moved that to next month. We've been given homework.
Yep. Hopefully, people have some time to review the master plan chapters that have been sent out by regional planning, and we will send those comments along to staff.
So no further action at this time.
No.
Thank you. Communications and miscellaneous. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Witham, seconded by Mr. Berry. Those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Thank you very much.